to Beyond the Ring, a podcast that covers all things in the stock show industry from the informative to the insane, starring Ryan Rash.
Be yourself. Everyone else is taken.
And Dale Hummel.
Take action today to better your tomorrow.
Now on with the show.
Welcome to Beyond the Ring. This is Dale Hummel with co-star Ryan Rash.
Hello, hello, hello.
Ryan, it's been beautiful in the north or in Illinois, in Cambria, Illinois specifically. We've been 70 to 80 degrees for a week, and this morning it is snowing.
And again, I told you to quit lying to these people. It is May. You cannot snow.
I disagree. I'm looking out my office window. Maybe I'd call it sleet rather than snow, but it is accumulating on the patio furniture.
What did you do?
I don't know.
You must have done something to cause this. I blame you.
I don't know, but it's miserable.
Maybe it's your new Chicago mayor.
That we haven't really talked about that much, but how can the populace of Chicago be as ignorant as they appear to be to go further left than crazy ass Lightfoot?
They went
Beetlejuice.
worse.
Yeah. I wanted to bring this up anyway. So when you have a city, let's use Chicago as an example, that is already a mess and COVID pushed it over the edge even further, there are a lot of people exiting Chicago, a lot of businesses exiting Chicago. And for many reasons, our listeners are all aware.
Well, they would have to because they're going to get robbed otherwise.
Yeah. And but when that starts happening and the tax base becomes less and less, all of a sudden, I think you have less support or funding for the police, less everything. And it continues to snowball. And all of a sudden, crime dominates the city. I don't like going in there now. I'll go in there to do different things when I'm required to. And for those of you out there, O'Hare Airport is a long ways from Chicago. I don't like O'Hare Airport, but it's at least not near downtown Chicago. But there are things I'm required to go in there for on occasion, and I will do it. But I think we're evolving to the point that at some time in the near future, it will not be a safe place to even go, even to enter. I don't know if that makes sense, Ryan, but just here's this zone of just absolute chaos and crime. And I see it going that direction. Sounds crazy in our country, but I believe it will happen.
I'm not doubting him. I'm just going to be honest. Like,
it's sad. It's really sad. I mean, if I owned a condo downtown or property up in Chicago, wouldn't you be just scared to death to be bailing out of that?
I don't even like which airfares are getting higher. I don't know because summer's approaching or whatever, but like I'm trying to book all this way. And there's several times that I look and I will pay more and not charge a show than have to go try to get a rent car out of Chicago and drive through that town. I just can't.
No, it's not good. What else do we have on the current events agenda?
Nothing. I know nothing.
I saw something interesting yesterday, and you and I didn't talk about this. I assume you didn't see it.
Because you didn't talk to me all weekend because you were busy plotting the snowdrift.
Oh, God. The Joe Exotic interview by Lawrence Jones on Fox.
Oh, I didn't even know he got interviewed.
He did. He was going to run for president, Mr. Joe Exotic, as a libertarian, but infighting in the Libertarian Party, he didn't like it, so he's now going to be a Democrat, even though his views kind of jump back and forth. They don't fit the party line real well. But it's interesting. He did interview. Lawrence did interview him about what you'd expect. But Chase and I, after the interview, discussed, in theory, Joe Exotic, if he was elected president, which obviously we know he's not, but in theory, if he was, he could pardon himself and go straight from federal prison to the White House.
Mm-hmm.
And thinking about Joe Exotic in the White House versus Sleepy Joe, it's a tough call for me. I'm going to go Joe Exotic at this point. I don't see how it could be any worse.
I'm going to get you a sign you can put in your front yard.
Joe Exotic
for president.
Trade Joes. Trading Joes. Something
there
like
you go.
that.
There you go. I'm going to get you a sign for your yard since you're now a proud Democratic supporter of Joe Exotic. That's great.
But I don't know that he'll say. It's just hard telling what party he'll end up with. But I
thought you said the man was interviewed. He said he was a Democrat.
He said he's going to called himself a Democrat, but the Democrats say he has not officially registered whatever paperwork that you need to run for president yet. I don't doubt that he will.
This must be a lot of paperwork because that's everybody's excuse. Well, I haven't filed yet. I haven't done this, whatever.
I am curious what that is actually.
It didn't seem to stop Trump. He got it filed and got out there quick. So
And if there's only 2 requirements, what are the requirements to run for president?
35 and a natural born citizen.
That's it. So that's all the paperwork that should be, correct?
I guess, like birth certificate and.
But was this not an issue for Obama getting the birth certificate?
Well, yeah, because people said that he wasn't American. I don't believe that still. The birther movement or whatever it was called. I don't know. It was dumb. But the only thing that I know is Anheuser-Busch, who had the man dressed like a girl on the can, and now they have all these problems because they lost like. I saw one. This can't be right, but I saw one thing that said like 5 million in revenue. I don't know how that's possible.
No, it's not million, billion.
Billion.
And I
There's
agree,
too many people drinking beers.
That's a staggering number, but that it was in the billions that they attribute the loss to. NASCAR jumped ship. A lot of the big ones jumped ship on them.
So now they've released some. The statement said nothing. It literally said nothing. Now they've got some new pro-America deal where they got their ponies riding, whatever, and everybody's like, So I don't know. I find it funny.
You can give me some insight in this. I'm very blind to these things. You can. I know you can do this.
I'm the worst gay person in the history.
That is why you can do it. Okay, so the transgender population, obviously it exists. I don't care if they're I don't care any of those things, but if they are transgender, they need to still go to their bathroom or a transgender bathroom. They still need to play in their biological sports category, those type of things. I don't care at all if they exist or don't exist or want to. None of that matters to me. Just stay in your own lane in terms of what you were born as when you're competing in sports, and don't be going in the other person's restroom, especially with younger kids, things like that. I'm out on. But Ryan, when there's so many companies catering to this right now, is the transgender population that much higher than I suspect it to be less than a couple percent? Am I wrong?
Oh, it's not even in the percent. It's less than 0.5% from
why is there so much targeting of that?
I don't understand, because I think these people are crazy. Why do they all put rainbow shit on all their products for a month during Pride Month and then say bye gays, and all the stupid gay people fall for it every year? I don't get it. I don't understand.
There has to be a statement that we're missing, because it is not a wise business move.
Clearly, it wasn't $5 billion. Oh my Lord! Somebody need to be fired. The most.
So the trans population, you do believe, is less than 1%.
I've seen several studies that say it's less than 1%.
Yeah, I have not looked at any of that up. I assumed it was, but if you were just to sit back and you didn't look at statistics,
and how many of those people are drinking Bud Light? Let's be honest.
I don't think any. I don't know.
Okay, I've been to more gay bars than most people in America, and I'm telling you, I've seen very few gay, trans, whatever, drinking beer. I'm just saying.
It's amazing to me. If you weren't aware of the statistics and just watched, all you had was the television or advertising that you're exposed to, social media, you would assume that the trans population was somewhere in that 50% or better.
Did you know there was a teen takeover in Chicago?
What do you mean, a team or teen?
Teen.
No, what does that mean?
I don't know, but your mayor-elect is talking about vilifying the use over the teen takeover.
So they maybe took over the mayor?
Hundreds of young people descended into downtown 2 nights in a row for crime, like all teenagers. Like,
for or against crime?
No, they were doing crime, sir. They smashed cars, blocked traffic.
I think it's every night. I think it's every night. Isn't that just incredible?
And he doesn't want people to vilify them. Okay, yeah, y'all, Chicago, y'all need to leave.
It's terrible.
It's bad. I also do think that it's another thing, not all Chicago, but all this other stuff. So, Trump's been in the race since what? I don't know, January? A long time now. Seems like this still seems forever. Why is all these people now coming out and endorsing Trump? Like, why didn't they do this when he announced?
Well, do you remember when he announced, or even just a month or so ago, he was getting no news coverage, not on Fox. He was getting no attention at all, including endorsements. And I'm not sure how that all came to be. I don't think they wanted to jump on the endorsement bandwagon until they thought he was going to be more relevant, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I like every day there's a new senator, congressman, whatever that's like saying that I don't understand it. Like, the man ain't changed, so why you just now came to this recollection that you're going to endorse Trump? I don't know. People are crazy. Is Joe back from Ireland?
I have not heard. He's been very quiet, avoiding anything and everything with all the issues that are going on. So his family vacation, you saw Hunter stepped in to
answer the question from the child about what is the keys to success? And like Joe kept going, I don't know what you're talking about. And like then Hunter repeats the question, but he understands it from Hunter. And what did he say?
He said to prevent everyone from getting COVID.
Yes, that's
something.
What he said.
Something COVID. I don't know the wording.
Try to avoid COVID. That's the key to success. So all you people that had COVID, y'all can no longer succeed. Y'all done. It's over for you.
And I talked last week or a couple of weeks ago that we had half of the teachers here out with COVID again. It seemed to be much milder than even before, but it appears to be around and will be around. But thankfully, it's of not near as difficult to overcome. At least it doesn't appear to be.
And then again, the fact that Pete Buttplug is the highest gay official, whatever in the land.
He represents you so well.
Oh, anyway. So have you seen that he had an interview with Al Sharpton?
No, I saw in I don't know who he was interviewing with, but he was calling the interstate system or the highways.
Racial.
Yes, the roads are racist.
Racist. The roads are racist.
Was that with Sharpton?
Yes. The way the roads are designed and built are racist.
They're against the browns, the blacks. Even I think he put rural in there somehow.
I don't. Okay,
but he used the word the roads were they're racist. He was serious about this.
Okay, maybe a name. Like maybe
I don't think that's what he was going for.
No, I get, but I'm trying to explain my attempt. I can maybe see if you twist some shit how you might say some names of some roads, whatever might be racist. Like they were named after some, whatever. How he says the roads were built and designed racist. I do. It's a lot.
I get angry the fact that all of the downstate tax dollars go to Chicago to improve their roads versus maybe working on ours. I can say it's disproportional, but I don't think I can tie racist to
it. Again, the fact that is the highest up gay person in all of the land.
How is this even possible? How do we have people in the positions they're in at this level of intelligence or lack thereof?
Oh, it just bothers me so much. I just not even know what to. Yeah, it's very bad. And again, when they thought that Joe wasn't going to run all those months ago and all this other stuff, the reason they kept little Petey out of all the news, because he's literally the worst transportation secretary in the history of the world, is because they thought he was going to be the one. And oh my.
That would be great.
Oh.
Let's hope that's their backup plan.
I don't.
It's time for some positive. Are you ready for positive?
Oh, there is positive? Where?
BTR JLA. I went to a show this weekend that was a BTR jail sanctioned show, Ryan. I attended.
Oh, you did? That's nice.
Checked up. I made sure that it was running smoothly. Everything was being collected properly. I went over the records and make sure.
Because you would know.
And I noticed you did not update the points from that show yet.
Yes, you sent me a text message that your child did not have points from the show when the show was Saturday, and you sent me a message that night. No, we don't have them up yet. They have to send them to us.
What top 10 will we hear today?
Novice lamb, I guess. Yeah, that's what it says.
How I hope the names are just challenging.
Yeah, I know. It's wonderful, isn't it? Eli Hambrick from Golden Valley, Arizona is first. And then Ellis Irwin, from Texas. Paisley Moesha. Again, terrible names. Flagstaff, Arizona is third. Cooper Smith from Texas is fourth. Georgia Flowers from Alabama is fifth. Cohen Hill from Alabama is sixth. Courtney Hockmeyer from Indiana is seventh. Jace Kelly from Pennsylvania is eighth. Oh, this name. Port Dallas from Ohio. I am going to screw this up something bad. Krebehen. Krebehenne. There. I spelled it correctly because I read it, but I know I did not pronounce it right. But anyway, Dallas from Ohio. You're in ninth. And then Ryder Middle Mist of Montana is 10th. Lord.
That's that. Well, you only had a couple. You got Cooper Smith. You nailed it. Cooper Smith.
Yeah, and that's a good one because there's lots of different states. So that was positive. So I like that.
How about a sponsor?
Yeah, well, I had that pulled up, and then something happened. So you do your little waterboard duties, and I'll get back to my sponsor.
I can talk about today's episode is brought to you in cooperation with Showfresh H2O. Put yourself in a better position to succeed in the show ring. Showfresh H2O is one of those tools that can make a difference. The cost versus reward ratio is strong as any product on the market. Showfresh H2O can be picked up at your local supply trailer or swampfox.com. Thank you for your continued support in helping feed Clifton's children.
You make it all about Clifton.
Well, it just goes from their hands to his hands.
Yes, that is
good. It keeps everything moving.
Okay. Well, whatever. And I'm still. I had this pulled up, and I can't. Oh, here we are. Okay, I'm back. Anyway, I want to thank Shannon Stone and ICSB NorCal for being the Region 1 sheep sponsor again for 2023. And ISB NorCal is one of the largest canine semen freezing centers and reproductive centers in the country. They also are one of the top 5 import-export companies for frozen semen in the country. ICSB's goal is to help canine breeders achieve healthy, successful litters and are willing and able to assist you in any breeding needs, as well as their canine reproduction freezing center. They also have Foxlair Farms LLC, which was established in 2021. They are a small family-owned sheep breeding farm concentrating on quality show stock for the youth in the livestock industry, and they are staunch supporters of all things junior livestock shows. They big BTRJLA members do very, very well, and we really appreciate Shannon and ICSB NorCal for being a sponsor not only last year, but also this year.
Now, why didn't you bring this one to my attention before?
I read this last year, too.
I missed it. I was absent.
Yeah, you should send her all the business because you have all the puppies.
I need to visit with these people. This is good. So they're importing and exporting
they do it
dog
all.
semen.
Yes.
Are you sure you read this last year?
Yes. Yes, sir.
I'm gonna Shannon's the one to reach out to, I assume. You have contact information you can give me?
I do. I have it all.
I would like that, please.
I will send that to you.
And I appreciate their support and look forward to visiting with them.
Shannon, I am so sorry that Dale is going to call you.
Yes, I am in the process of trying to import some dog semen as we speak today. And I need guidance. I need lots of guidance. I desperate need of guidance.
There you go.
Well, with that, today's episode title brought.
Hey, I would also like to say that is like the shortest current events maybe in history.
It's similar to the early ones, I believe.
I think it's the shortest ever.
So the lunch break is the title today, brought to you, thought up by none other
Me.
than Ryan himself. The
Me.
gay came up with this one.
Yeah.
You've been wanting this one for a while, I think.
I have so much to say.
From back
I'm not
to
gonna
almost
lie.
summertime, maybe. I don't remember when.
Yeah.
But lead us off. Tell us about lunch break and what you're trying to get at.
Okay, so first off, I want to say from the beginning that the majority of this is just my opinion, and I know my opinion does not mean that everybody's opinion should be this way, but I want you to hear my opinion on this.
But you would like everybody's opinion to be like
I would, especially if I'm judging the show. And then secondly, the other thing that I want to say is I do know that the overall rule that I think should be with this is that who is ever judging your show, whether it is man, woman, whoever is out there, yeah, they should decide this. I mean, some people do have medical needs and all this other stuff that, they have to eat, all this other. I do not. And so, but you should go with whatever the person out there is sorting what they should do. I personally think lunch breaks are Satan's work. That is my personal opinion. I think they are terrible. I do not think they belong in shows at all. I would tell you to throw whoever it is a Snickers bar and tell them to keep charging on. But that's again, I think you should go with what the person out there sorting is the most comfortable with. And the reason that I think lunch breaks are bad, I will start from an exhibitor's perspective. We all know that this gets more and more competitive at every single level, jackpot, county, state, major, whatever, all this other stuff. And in every single species, if you are one of these highly competitive people, you are timing different areas of your animal's preparation to go into the ring, revolving around what time you think said animal and said child are going to hit the ring. Do you not agree with that, Dale?
I do, and that single aspect causes me more stress at the show than almost anything else.
And I mean, we tell you to go up there and time the classes at the start so you can get an idea, count the number of head before you, so you can kind of time out and get an idea. And then the biggest problem with lunch breaks is you cannot announce at the start of the show at noon, we're going to take a lunch break. Because at noon, you may be in the middle of class or middle of a breed, all this other stuff. And so you can't do that. And so it really screws with trying to get the animals prepared to hit the ring at the same time. And it's not just when you're fitting one. I mean, there are things that you drench. There are all kinds of stuff that you do that have to be timed out to work properly. And then when they're like, okay, we're done at the end of the Chesters. We're going to take a 45-minute lunch break.
This you could have already been started working.
Right.
This is the one that bothers me the most. I'm okay if a show would come out and say not like Brad said, start at noon or anything like that, lunch break at noon. I'm okay if they predict, okay, after class 7, Chester White, champion, whatever, we are going to take a lunch break. If they tell you that at the beginning of the show, so you can kind of time it out, we're going to take this long, I'm okay with that. What I despise is, let's say it's 11 o'clock and all of a sudden they decide 11:15, 11:30, or after this class, we're going to take a lunch break. Well, depending on what species you're working with, you may already be in the process of washing, fitting, drenching, whatever it may be, under the assumption that you're going in the ring here shortly. And then we take a lunch break, and oftentimes those lunch breaks are longer than what sometimes the officials give you heads up on, and it's a train wreck.
Well, and then the other thing, I don't know how, it didn't matter. I don't know how many shows I've been to as a judge or as an exhibitor or as whatever, helping on the sidelines. There is no consistency in the lunch break time. At any show, in all the shows, some are 30, some are 45, some are hours. There've been shows that have taken an hour and a half to 2 hours, and just like Dale, there's no consistency on how long they are. And then also, there has never been, or I shouldn't say never, but the overwhelming large majority of shows that take lunch breaks, they say it's 30 minutes. It's more like 35 or 40. and like whatever. It's never on time. It's never. Yeah, it's just so it. And again, it bothers me as a judge a lot, but it bothers me way more if we're there showing something because again, you're trying to get these animals on multiple fronts the best they can be, and you're gauging all this on what time, and then whoop, we're gonna have a 30-minute lunch break that turns into 50 minutes. Yeah, that didn't work for me.
And I think, like you said, if you're the show superintendent, and I don't know, from an exhibitor standpoint, I prefer probably not to have a lunch break unless it's very well orchestrated. And like we had talked about at the very beginning of the show, we say we're going to have this lunch break after class such and such. We don't know what time that's going to be, but you can track that. That works better than trying to set a time or throwing it out there just before you're going on lunch break, because it is stressful, period. And Ryan will talk about it from the judging side, and I'm happy to tune in as well. Yeah, I am with Ryan on this one. I would prefer just to skip it, and you'll hear various reasons for that. But as we're talking the show family side of it, there is no question the more competitive, almost all of the show families, I should say, are trying to do these things, and different species require different amounts of time to prepare to get to the ring. And it becomes, we want to make these shows as enjoyable as possible. And that's one of the stressors that I think we can relieve by making that announcement at the very beginning. We're not taking a lunch break. We are taking a lunch break after class such and such rather than a time, because you're probably in the middle of a class. I don't know. It gets me, Ryan. It does. And I don't know there's a perfect solution, but we can do better.
Well, and again, I see your point saying that, if they announce at the beginning of the show, you know what, we are going to have a lunch break. We anticipate that we are going to break at after certain whatever. One thing that I do want to genuinely and earnestly stress, if you're going to have a lunch break, you do need to announce it. You need to give an anticipation. Say, we can't be for sure, but we think it will be then. The other thing on this is, and I can't believe that I have to say this, but I do. Do not break in the middle of a breed or a division. That is just wrong on so many levels. I don't even know why I have to state these things, but if you're going to have a lunch break, then like I said, get through the Chesters or get through the Chiania heifers or the, Dorper sheep or whatever it is. But don't stop. All right, it's class 2, Berkshire Bears, and we're going to break for 45 minutes. Class 3, I'll be back up here in a little bit.
No, and I think that's the most common mistake, right? And I think it's more...
And do you know how wrong that is on so many levels?
I understand. I think they're in a mindset. They're up there trying to run the show. There's a lot going on. And all of a sudden it's 11:30 and they're thinking, well, I'm a little hungry. The judge is probably getting a little hungry. Let's just break after this class. So it's very little heads up. It may be in the middle of a division. There's a lot of things that come into play, but that is done more than I would say.
That's what I'm saying. I cannot believe that I have to state this out loud, but I'm telling you, I am vehemently against lunch breaks, but if you're going to have one, first say, you know what, at the beginning of the day, so everybody will at least know, even if they don't know what time it is, even if you're not even going to anticipate a time, say, hey, we are going to break for lunch and this is how long it's going to be. I would like for you to say, hey, we anticipate that it's going to be after this. Whenever you decide to do this, after you have announced it in that morning, also, when you get there and you say, you know what, it's 11:30, we're in the middle of Durox or whatever it is, probably 12:15 will be done. After the champion and reserve Duroc, which we're anticipating 12:15, we're going to break for 45 minutes. We need class 1 Yorkshires in the holding ring ready to go at 1 o'clock. But do not, and I want to repeat this again, do not break in the middle of a breeder division. Do not do it.
Seems very simple.
I do not again, the fact that I am having to state this is beyond me. But I'm telling you, I have judged as many shows as most people I know, and I have seen almost everything. And Dale gets the venting of all the things I say. You want to send me over the edge. You tell me you're going to break for lunch in the middle of a breed. Like, I have gone postal crazy on people.
And normally they do not, once you request, let's not do that.
No, after I have gone insane, we keep trucking to at least the end of the breed. But yeah, I mean, I just can't even tell you. I can list for you 100 reasons why that's a bad idea, but just do not do it. And so, again, that was all from like a show perspective. I also want to talk about this from like being the show help, the show manager, staff, volunteers, all this other stuff. I get that there are a lot of people that make that it takes a village to get these shows to run and all this other stuff. And all these people are involved and moving parts. Here is my thing. All of those people, for the most part, their jobs are very, very crucial. And it takes all of them to make it run effectively. But they can, scarf down a cheeseburger or whatever while still doing what they need to do. Would you agree with that, Dale?
They can, yes.
And so there is no reason to stop everything for the volunteers and staff time, because you can take a couple bites of a cheeseburger and still write down placings or make announcements or line cattle up in the back or all of these things. So there's no because I used to, when I was a young judge and whatever, I kind of got a little weird about it when they'd ask and I'd say no, because I was like, well, all these people are here volunteering and they're probably hungry and want to stop. And then the more I thought about it, I'm like, no, they can do whatever they need to do and still eat lunch and we can move on. But so I get that from that point, but I'm telling you, everybody that's volunteering, all the staff members, by and large, they can do the jobs that they need to do and still grab a quick bite to eat.
I think they can, but I think there's I think it's a different mindset, right? I think there's some that's fairly important that we just take a break. We get everybody some lunch. I think we prioritize it much differently than most.
And I understand that, but I don't understand why their priority is that way. I don't.
I get it. Well, even if we bring new employees in here on the goat side of it, in our other business, there's a set lunchtime that they take every single day. It just works out good for them or well. Where on the goat side, we are running in circles a lot of time and trying to figure out when this is going to be done. If we're in the middle of we're in the middle of vaccinating a bunch of recips and we've got them all gathered up. We're not going to stop at noon and say, okay, we're going to take an hour lunch break and just let those animals stand in the chute or in the holding pen or whatever. It just doesn't work. And I think that is maybe as good of a parallel that I can bring to similar to just this show is moving, the rhythm is right, everything's going the right direction. Let's just keep on going.
And I said the same thing for talking about everybody can whatever. Even if you're back there and you've got 20 animals to whatever, you can send somebody to get lunch for you and the kids and all this other stuff, and everything can still keep going. I'm not saying people don't need to eat. I realize I'm weird, and when I'm in that deal, I'm not going to eat. But I mean, I get that everybody else, large majority of them, want lunch, but you can still do what you need to do and not have to physically stop and halt everything and have a lunch break. And so that part is there, and I get what Dale's saying, that there's some mindset that I don't understand about it, but whatever. So from a judge perspective, and again, there are going to be judges that say, you know what, I would really like to have a lunch break at some point, and if they're the judge and that's what they want, then I say you abide by it, because the most important job at any show is the job of the judge. And so you have to do whatever makes him or her the most comfortable so they can do the most effective and the best job sorting. So, if they request that, then that's what you do. I think that, and a lot of this depends on the size of the show too. It would not matter if I am judging the Fort Worth Steer Show or, the Tarrant County Steer Show, which county fair. I don't not want one, but like I think most people when they judge, regardless of the size of show, you get into a rhythm and you get things going and all this stuff and everything starts to click. And, it takes a couple of classes because you've got to get your help lined out on how we're going to bring them in and how we're going to send them around and how they're going to all this other stuff. But once you get that going and that flow moving and everything's clicking and working and all this stuff, and people are getting their animals up there at an appropriate time and ready to go, I don't think you understand on so many levels other than when you stop that, you just bring it to a crashing halt. You have to basically restart everything like you're starting over at 8 a.m. in the morning. Do you understand what I'm saying there, Dale?
I understand from the standpoint that I have had multiple calls from you and text that you're at a show, which I don't ever recommend you go to a show and watch. It makes it for terrible days for me, even from a distance. But you're there, and all of a sudden we take a lunch break, and you come back and you say everything. It's a mess. We've gone backwards. This is terrible. We should have never stopped. It truly, truly gets you. I mean, it absolutely, whether it's any different or not, I don't know. I assume you're probably seeing some differences, but in your mind, there is no question. A lot of times when we come back from lunch, things are just going a different direction. Not a wrong direction, a different direction.
But different. I'm not saying that like the Titanic is in an iceberg and we have sunk. I have seen that, by the way. But I am just saying, like, things are not going as they were before. And I don't know. Food affects people differently. Some people get tired. Some people, whatever. I don't know. But like, it's not just everything has to restart. And a lot of time, to be honest with you, when you take a lunch break, they send in new help to the ring. I mean, they're like, oh, I'm going to go check on this or whatever. And then you've got new people. So then you have to retrain everything over again, start all over. Because I don't care. And this is another thing that I don't understand it. I'm never going to understand it. I'm going to try to quit to even pay attention, whatever. People do not, even if they stand at the ring and watch, they don't pay attention anymore. They for the most part, because the kids don't know where they're going and the parents don't seem to tell them. And so, again, you're retraining the ring help. You're doing all this over again. But I am very serious, and Dale says he hasn't seen this, but I have been with him on multiple occasions where we have watched this, and I have commented, and he has agreed that when they come back from a lunch break, things are not going as the way they went before in terms of the sorting. Not every time, but a lot of times. And again, I'm not saying the Titanic is sinking, but it's just different. And then you have to get back in this flow and back in this rhythm. And I don't understand why we could just not avoid that entirely. Oh,
I think what you need to try to explain is, and again, it may just be you, may just be myself.
No, I'm talking about I'm watching people too.
Yeah, well, no, but why it's different when a judge is out there and you're going through things and your ring help is tuned in. It's like the first couple classes. It's always going to be a little bit awkward to get the ring help doing what they need to do, get your mind set, get focused, and get into that. There is a rhythm, I guess. It's maybe the best way to put it. And when the judge takes that lunch break, you're kind of restarting that to a certain degree. I'm not saying it's good or bad or they're going to use better ones or lesser ones or anything like that, but it does make that judge, or as a judge, you are resetting a little bit and going back out there and readjusting. And sometimes the pendulum is moved just a little bit, not intentionally necessarily. And
I don't think it's ever intentional.
No. And I think if I were to go and eat lunch in the middle of the day, or it seems like I after I eat anything in the middle of the day, my blood sugar. I don't know what's going on, but I will lose some focus. To be honest with you, a little bit tired, I guess, afterwards. I know everybody's affected differently, so I do take the same path that Ryan does. I generally will not eat. We could start at 9 in the morning and finish at 9 at night, and I will not have eaten anything, and I'm much better off for it. But
Yeah.
everybody is different.
And again, I think you have to cater to whoever's judging, but like, and then besides having to restart everything, let's talk about what happens during the actual lunch break. I don't care if it's 30 minutes, 2 hours, let's talk about the things that happen there. Okay. First, and I am telling you, I am going to do this too. First thing that person is going to do is what, Dale? They're going to pull out their phone.
They're going to make sure there's no emergency.
Right. Okay. And to check that there's no emergency, you're also going to get all the other texts or the other missed calls and all this other stuff. And even if you don't respond, don't call back or any of those other things, if Joe Blow has called me and I know that person is at the show and I don't listen to his voice message or I don't see why did that person call me? That those things are going to go through your mind. I don't care who you are. I do not care who you are. That is that. So then you're going to go off to this whatever. Maybe it's an office. Maybe a lot of places have designated places for staff and volunteers to eat, whatever. You're going to go over there and you're going to sit down with everybody that you do not know. Never.
It's the best feeling in the world.
Never seen these people before. Can't remember their names. Anything like that. Because yes, every time you walk up, you introduce yourself. I'm Ryan. This is John. This is Marie, whatever, all this stuff. And I am telling you, other than the two people in the ring that I am probably talking to throughout the day and whoever heard, I do not remember anybody else's name. Okay? And I'll just be honest with you.
So this compounds the social discomfort.
Right. So then you're sitting there with 20 people that you don't know, you can't remember their names, and then you're either talking about the show, which probably is not a great idea, because then you open yourself up to all the things that can be misconstrued and misstated, and I'm not saying maliciously, but I'm just talking about you're going to sit there and you're going to talk to these people and they're going to ask something about the show and you're going to say something, whatever. And then they're going to be like, well, during lunch break, we were talking about XYZ steer and he said this. And maybe that is not exactly what somebody said. And I mean, that or.
It happens all the time.
Oh, it does. Or there is the malicious part or the self-serving part. And again, if y'all don't believe this happens, I'm going to tell you you're a liar. During the lunch breaks where, the announcer's kid or the swine superintendent, their grandson or their kid just happened to make a visit and you get introduced to said child who
that does not happen.
You are lying, sir. Lying. You know it happens.
Oh, and it just is so uncomfortable.
Because you get angrier than I do about that part of it. Way angrier.
Oh, it's just not good.
And then again, it's not, I can't speak for everybody or every judge, but I know for me and Dale, it's not going to affect anything. But someone else from a distance is going to see little Johnny, the sheep superintendent's kid or grandson or cousin, nephew, 16 removed, standing there talking to the judge at the lunch break. And what do you think those people are going to say, Dale?
It's not good.
That sorry son of a bitch.
Yeah, it's not good.
That is because that is going to be the perception.
Yeah.
That kid is in there. So he gets FaceTime. She gets FaceTime with the judge. They know who that is. All this other stuff. And sometimes it could be literally as innocent. I mean, I have been in situations where person volunteering has been in the ring all day. Kid walks up because something's wrong with their animal, all this other stuff. Lots of times it's innocent. Lots of times it's not. But it does not matter if it is innocent or intentional from the outside person looking in.
Perception is reality there.
Right.
It just is. What about that young judge that this is maybe one of their very first shows and then this happens to them? It's going to impact them a little differently.
Oh, yeah. And then again, in a lot of the times in this situation, whether you're up and comer or seasoned professional or whatever else, if it is intentional that said child, because they're not real subtle about it. And so that this was the intent, is for you to be able to recognize this person when they walk in the ring in 30 minutes, an hour, or whatever. And again, it's just very awkward and very so there's that. There's also, again, like I'm saying, you're sitting there eating with a bunch of people that you don't know, trying not to talk about the show. I do not do small talk at all. Like, people ask me if we've had enough rain at home. I don't know. I'm not there. We don't farm, so I don't care. I mean, I could give you, whatever. I am terrible at it. I'm honest. I'm terrible at it. But then the other, and this is a big part that I want to address. And again, I think it's individual to each person. When you have that time, whether you're talking or not talking or whatever, the first thing you are going to do is rerun every close decision that has happened so far through your brain. Or if, Joe Blow that called you beat their KF, and do you think he's mad? Do you think it, whatever? You're going to go through all of this psychological warfare in your head that you don't have to, because you could still be out there just on the next class focused on that. Do you not see?
And irregardless of whether you want to let that affect you subconsciously, it's at the least, it's a distraction.
It is a distraction at the very least. And again, you're sitting there going, oh, in class 2 Hamps, man, that second and third deal, that was close. And yeah, I think that's right, but I can see whatever. And all this, I mean,
those things are going through your mind over lunch. It just is. Every one of those close decisions.
They don't have to be, because you could be out there judging the next class and moving. And I know people don't think, especially if you have never judged one. And I'm sure the vast majority of the listening audience and the people running shows and whatever probably haven't. But this is what is going on in your brain while you're sitting there doing nothing. I'm going to use me for an example. I don't eat. I'm not going to eat for multiple reasons. I'm not a food person anyway. I'm not going to let somebody Snapchat me with a mouthful of food, whatever. I'm not doing any of these things. I can give you a laundry list of reasons why I am not going to do anything but drink out of a Yeti or a bottle of water at a show when I'm sorting one. That's it. But we're not going to get into all that. And again, I'm not good with small talk, so I'm not going to sit there with a whole bunch of people that I don't know and all this other stuff and be awkward. And so I'm going to go out and I'm going to either call Dale or call somebody. And so then I'm standing out there on the phone, and I know that people are probably like, well, who he's talking to? Which most time I'm venting or laughing, so they probably know it's not about the show. But I mean, because you got to do something to fill that void. And this does not matter. And then the other part of whatever break, whether it's lunch break, bathroom break, all this other stuff, a lot of times they're like, well, do you want somebody to go with you? No, I don't want to be chaperoned. I'm fine, because that's awkward, because then you feel like you have to talk to that person. But then it also leaves you open to people coming up and talking to you and, all this other stuff, which I am used to by now. But someone that is not used to that could play out extremely differently, in my opinion. Somebody walks up, hi, thank you for coming. We appreciate your time. This is Sally Joe. Have a good day. Some people would be fine with that. Some people would take that as an affront or trying to get somewhere. But in all of these things are things that could be avoided if we just weren't in this situation, like at all.
You and I are very biased towards not taking the lunch break, and I'm sure others are just as strong that we need to take one. So again, this is just our opinion and how we work and how our mind
from the beginning.
I'm just reminding everybody. But what Ryan's saying, and I don't know how this happened, because we are so, our backgrounds are so vastly, we are very different people, but shockingly we agree on many of these things, and it shocks me sometimes. But what Ryan's describing is exactly, we've discussed this because of having to be in these situations, but he could have came in and described my exact feeling about the lunch break and visiting with people and all of those things to a T without me saying a word. And I'm sure there's other judges out there like that. It's to me, I'm socially awkward to begin with in a small group. So that complicates it even further. And it's just a very uncomfortable situation that you're going through. And other people love those kind of situations. My wife enjoys visiting with people in small groups.
Oh, so does Shrek. God love her. She would just sit there and like talk to whatever. But like, and I don't think I'm socially awkward at all. But like, I don't do small talk. Like, again, asking me about the weather, any of those things, or whatever. But so
I think you're socially awkward.
I also don't want to talk about the show. Like, I don't want people to ask me things about the show, because I just see so many red flags in that. And again, it could be some sweet gal or guy that's out there in the rain that's just trying to learn stuff and like say, hey, you use this one over this one. I'm just trying to whatever. And like, I get what they're trying to do. And it's completely genuine and not malicious or whatever. I don't want to talk about it, because it just affects everything. And so there's just so many things that can happen that something has to fill that time that it just opens up. And then again, like I've been saying, people see things, perceive things differently that may not even be the case. But that's why I'm just like, everybody else get a Snickers bar and a hamburger and carry on, unless it is that person and that sort of, and they want to do it and they think they need to. I get that. But one other thing that I do want to like say, if you're going to have a lunch break, like Dale said, announce from the beginning, give an estimated time, tell them at the start of the day, even if you don't know when, it's going to be 30 minutes. It's going to be 45 minutes. It's whatever, however long it is. When you do break, or try to give them a heads up, it's going to be after church.
When you try to hold to that amount of time.
Right. When you do break, if you break at 12:30 and you say we're coming back in 30 minutes, then you say class 1 of whatever breed it is, you be in the holding ready to go at 12:55. So we can start back at 1. And you send whatever person it is, let them eat first, and send the person that's getting the animals in the make ready ring lined up ready, send them down there so they are ready when you come back. The other thing that I want to say, and it is more for a perception than anything else, and I know not all situations are going to allow this or whatever, if you can go somewhere where nobody can see what's going on, I think that's best, because it cuts out, just like we said, the large perception of things. If that is not possible, and I think this would be much easier almost, send one person with that person. Hey, let's go to the concession stand, get a cheeseburger, whatever. The whole entourage is not necessary, because again, then it's just awkward and questions and all this and all these things. Designate one person to take he or she and whatever and all that other stuff. Like, make it as easy as possible if we're going to do this. Would you not agree those are things that would help?
Yes, and there's some shows that they've taken lunch breaks, and they've been they designated a person to go with me to the office or wherever. Yeah. There's a situation where they've made it very, very pleasant.
Yeah.
not uncomfortable whatsoever. And I
But
didn't
that
mention
is also not the large majority of them.
No, it isn't.
And that's what I'm saying. That's why I'm trying to give these, like you said, there are ones that make it pleasant. Hey, this is Rachel. You and her are going to go out and she'll bring you back when it's time, whatever. And again, it's one person. And like it is much more pleasant than 15 people and all this other stuff. And if it is in a designated office or yada, yada, yada. But I'm telling you, if you're going to do it, try to make it as pleasant as Dale says and give as much heads up and do all these other things, because all the things that I have said, I'm sure a lot of people have not thought about them before and all this other stuff, but from the looking at your phone to make sure there are no disasters that have happened in your real life while you're giving your time to doing this, all these things, intentional, unintentional meetings, people talking about things, you weighing stuff in your head, all this other stuff, that is all going to factor in to the rest of the decision makings throughout the rest of the day, whether a lot of it's going to be subconscious, but it's going to be there. And then you've got to get your flow back and all this other stuff. So again, I am going to say, again, this is my opinion, but unless the judge requests one, do not do it. Lunch breaks are Satan's work.
This has been weighing on you for a long. You've been wanting this topic for a long time.
I'm
glad you got
so
that
much
off
better
your chest.
now. I do,
And I think this is.
I feel
real
so
for
much
you.
better now.
It's real for me. It may not be for anyone else out there in the world.
If it is not real for anyone else out there, that is fine. It is real for me, and I feel so much better now. I do. I literally.
Do you feel good enough to take question and answer yet?
I don't know about that since we still don't have a sponsor for it, but I guess
we do still have one little French bulldog puppy left to sell.
That is not a sponsor.
That doesn't count. Dang.
No, that is not a sponsor because you say that the reason that Holly's Dog Shop is sponsoring question and answer. Number one, I ain't saying no check. Number two, that is because you say animals don't live in the house, but your new freaking dog gets to.
He's in the garage currently. And he does come in the house occasionally.
Yeah.
But animals are meant to be outside for the most
I
part.
agree with that, but then you're a hypocrite when it comes to your little puppy.
Well, that's because others might want a dog in the house. Doesn't mean that I want one in the house. Maybe why I'm mentioning that we have one left for sale is because I don't want another dog in the house. That could be part of it.
Mm-hmm.
It is time. Jackie sends us a question. I am involved with putting on a larger goat and sheep jackpot show. I would like to bring in some of the best judges possible, but I'm not sure how much it would cost to bring one of these judges in that many of the show families have recommended. Any guidance you have would be appreciated. It's kind of a vague question, but
no, it is a vague question,
but I think real.
But yeah, no, real, and I mean, I think one that definitely weighs on a lot of people. Jackie, I think the best thing to do is you just because there is no consistency on any of this. I think what you just have to do is the ones that have been brought up to you by the show families, the whatever, you're just gonna have to call them and say, hey, this is when my show is, this is where it is, you know, what are we looking at budget wise to get you to be here? Because they're going to tell you, and I'm going to tell you first off that especially now more than ever, if it's a flight and a rental car and all that's not going to be cheap. But a lot of people, you know, most shows have some deal made with a local hotel that they get a block of rooms so you can get whatever, but you're going to have to cover said person's expenses. And then a lot of judges have a daily rate, because they think that he or she, it requires them this much to pack up and leave what they're doing for that day to make it worth it. And I mean, that is a real part of it. And so, but there is no consistency. The going rate is, you know, $500 a day or anything. There's none of that. And so the only thing that I can tell you to do is just say, we would like you. We don't know what your budget is. Could you tell us? and then you can see if you can make it work or not, because it's just going to be trial and error, because it's not like a mileage, like every state has, what they pay for mileage. There's nothing like that on judges at all for, what the going rate is to get paid. And a lot of, I know people that have just a daily rate, whether it's 50 head or 500 head. I know people that like, well, how many head do you have? Or how many do you expect to have? They have some calculation by how they try to figure it out by how many head they're going to sort, all this other stuff. And then there's other people like me that none of that figures in. But so there is no consistency, no rhyme or reason. You're just going to have to call them and say, we would like for you to judge. Do you have an idea of what it would cost? But the one thing that I would caution everybody, not just her, is have a hard and fast figure. And I have had to start doing this now because I am the world's worst. You need to have a hard and fast figure and say, for you to come and judge XYZ show, we're going to give you $1,500 and a hotel room or whatever it is, and stick to that. Because I know I am not the norm. I tell people, you cover my expenses, and then whatever you want to pay me on top of that for my time is up to you. And that is still my general consensus and theory. I now, more than ever, because it has not gone sometimes like it was supposed to, I'm like, this is what the flight costs. This is what the rental car costs. I have to be in a hotel 2 nights. I'm going to charge you $150 a night for that. So this is my expenses. What are you going to cut the check for? So I know going in. So I would just say, make sure you have a hard figure.
No, but I think that's Ryan made it the key point there, Jackie, that the reason it is confusing, there is no set standard. There just isn't. There may be a show that's been around for 20 years and they pay the same amount every year. That's maybe standard for them. But every show across the country is different. And there's one thing you need to think about when you're calling these judges. They're probably involved in doing other things. If I accept a show, a 1-day jackpot show on the West Coast somewhere, and I have to make a connecting flight where I can't leave later in the day, or there's not a lot of options on our flights, even though that show is a 1-day show and a decent sized jackpot, let's say it starts in the morning, you get done early evening, probably can't get a flight back out that night. It's basically going to take, for that 1-day show, by the time I leave here
3 days
and get back, it's 3 days. It just is. And I'll take red eye. I'll do anything to limit the time I'm gone, but sometimes it just doesn't work.
Well, and especially post-COVID, there are not many red-eye flights anymore. And the flights at night are even more limited than what they were. But they almost everybody, and I think that is something that most show officials don't always figure in, is even if you can get a flight out after the show, there's a whole day of traveling getting you to the show beforehand that nobody considers that in the equation per se. But in most situations, that's still a day of leaving your business, leaving your farm, all this other stuff, where you could be doing things to generate income that by and large shows overlook. And so that is part of it. And then when he's saying there is no standard on pay, the thing that baffles me the most, and it is across all over the United States, county fairs either pay insane amounts of money, like really, really good money, or they pay nothing. There is no middle ground out. So all. And you would, I mean, I'm not just talking about large county fairs. I'm talking about, I have judged tiny county fairs that I got to check, and I'm like, this is too much. Like, this is way, way too much. And I've judged huge ones that I was like, really? Y'all gave me $100 over what my expenses were for 4 days here? I mean, like, and so, but that thing has always baffled me. Either county fairs pay like slot machines or they don't pay at all. And I don't understand it.
No, Jackie, that turned out to be a great question. That's something we really I don't think we've addressed on here before. The next one comes from Kim. And Ryan, this one is no question all you. Ryan, I have not heard any updates recently regarding your mother. I have been a fan of hers for years and always enjoy hearing about her adventures.
Would you like her number?
I haven't heard anything either. I would like to know.
I talked to you about that crazy woman every single day.
You said she went to Australia and New Zealand a while ago. She made it back.
They left mid-February for some 24-day whatever. They flew to Australia, New Zealand, got on a cruise boat for 21 days, and they got back mid-March. And she is now in the throes of planning. She's having a fundraiser for the local. They have this local arts group, and they bring in bands like, it's been big. Like Kevin Costner came and played last year. I mean, they get big. I didn't know Kevin Costner sang, and they said it wasn't great, but he came. Little Texas, all kinds of stuff. And so it's called the Piney Ridge Fine Arts Association. So she is in the throes of preparing for this fundraiser, which is going to be a casino night theme. And poor Daddy James, he just agreed to this, and I didn't know about it because I don't get involved in their business. And so I go to the mailbox the other day, and here's this invitation from the Piney Woods Farts for casino night at the Bright Carrabba compound, La Bella Vista. I'm like, huh? And so
this would also be the same home that you're currently residing in?
Right. And so that evening, which it's the first weekend in May or whatever, I'm not going to be there, obviously. But that evening, I was like, so y'all doing a casino night? And James was like, oh, yeah, but it's not going to be that big a deal. I said, oh, it's not. He's like, yeah, because several years ago, she hosted 2 casino nights in a row, 2 years for these same people. All the furniture in the house had to be moved out. There were blackjack tables, crap tables, roulette, all this other stuff. And I said, oh, it's not? And so I said, oh, well, that's cool, because the last 2 times, then I'm like, Daddy James's eyes are getting bigger around his, plates, and his jaw is hitting the floor. And like Cherie is sitting there having a heart attack, hopping up and down, telling me to shut up. I was like, yeah.
That's good. See, those are the Cherie stories we need to hear.
She's fine. She's fine. Trucking right on along.
Next question comes from Jonathan. I know you guys have discussed this before, but I'm battling with our show committee about if we should or should not post the name of the judges once they are secured. What are the main points I can take back to them to better justify the name should be released?
I think the points are number one, transparency. That is first and foremost, because again, once you hire him or her, put it out there, let the world know. And what I'm sure your show committee is saying is that if we do this, then people are going to try to get at this person or influence this person and all this other stuff. Okay. Let me state for the record that number one, if you are worried about that, you should have picked a different judge. Will you at least agree with that, Dale? Because
easily.
You should have picked another judge if that's one of your concerns. Number two, if you keep it a secret, it's really not a secret, because the show committee knows, and they're going to tell somebody who's going to tell somebody who whatever. So then a small group of people know who it is. And I don't care who you are as a judge. It was very hard for me if somebody comes up or texts or calls or whatever. It's like, hey, are you judging the Rockwall County Fair? They haven't released the judge, but that's the rumor. And I know I am. I don't want to lie to that person.
So you either you have to lie or say that I'm not allowed to say. Either way, they're going to. If you're not lying, they're going to know.
Right. If you don't lie, then they're going to know, because if you squirm around about it, like, I can't really talk about that, whatever, they're going to know. And then if you lie, then that person is literally going to be able to say, you lied straight to my face.
Yeah. It's not a good situation.
And it's a terrible situation. So again, the only thing that they have is, oh, somebody will try to influence that person, whatever, then you need to pick another judge. Transparency is out there, and like we have said all over this, even though it only may be a few months before the show, some people may not, if it's way in advance, like we all say it should be, maybe you haven't put animals on feed. You can get one that's more that judge's type. Even if you've got an animal on feed already, there are exercise routines and all different kinds of things that you can do to try and gear your animal more towards what that sorter typically likes or picks, if that person is consistent, etc. So there's so many reasons, and something as little as if they have a pet peeve in showmanship or selection, just make sure that pet peeve isn't into play with you and your animal and your exhibitor. So there's 999 reasons why to, and only one not to. And the one is, we don't want someone to try to influence our judge. If that's your issue, you should have picked a different judge.
And I can eliminate that one on another angle. That it's all upside. There is no downside to the transparency. And I hope superintendents are listening to this question. If that you've asked that person to judge, obviously, as Ryan said, there's committee members, there's others that may know about that. Even if you're doing it yourself, let's say that judge gets that phone call and they're going to be judging. If they intend to be political with some of their buddies or some of their business associates, guess what? They're going to let them know. Yes, they're telling them that you're defeating the entire purpose by not making it transparent. You're making it that much worse. So trust me, when you're not releasing the judges, there is far more negative than positive. And there is no positive, zero, absolutely none. Because the people that you're trying to avoid from being politically correct under that judge are going to find out anyway. And they're going to be the only ones that know. Everybody doesn't have that information, and they can decide, yeah, maybe I'm just not going to go to that show if it's transparent. Maybe that's the downside, that you'll lose some numbers, but I don't think so. I think it'll work the opposite. Excellent question, Jonathan. With that, Ryan, I think this episode, even though it was a short current events, and I thought would be a shorter lunchtime topic, but
no, I told you I had a lot to say about this issue. I did.
You did.
I told you. You always worry if we're gonna have enough material, whatever, and you're worried about being short.
I did not worry this time. I knew.
And I could still, like, there could be a lunch break part 2. There won't be, but I could go on about it. So.
Which it did stimulate some discussion when we talked about this title for another one that's somewhat relative to this that we'll bring up here soon, that deals with when you're judging a show and there's time between the end of the show and champions are selected, or a day between, things like that. But we're going to address that as well, and I think it'll be a good topic. But until next week, we appreciate you listening. Be safe.
Y'all come back now, you hear?